do appreciate you guys listening to us. We appreciate if you can subscribe to us on Rumble, YouTube, and Anchor. Man, make a comment there for us. That would help us out. We would greatly appreciate it. Before we get to our NFL picks that we will sock away in our sock drawers until February after the Super Bowl, and we'll see if we were spot on, didn't have a freaking clue. We'll find out. I was wanting to start off with the AFC, if you don't mind, Billy. And I was going to say we'll pick our division winners over there. I'm going to go with the AFC West first. I think the toughest division in football, bar none. I think you have 4 playoff teams, caliber playoff teams in this division alone. We just talked about Denver a little bit. They can run the football. That's one thing that will help Russell Wilson with Melvin Gordon and Javonte Williams. They've got kind of an aging defense with some of their good players. But Patrick Surtain and Randy Gregory, I think, are good pickups. Going to be good players for Denver. I actually have Denver number 4 in this division, though. I really flipped the coin between them and the Raiders on that one. I went with the Raiders because I love the Devontae Adams pickup for the Raiders. I think that's going to be huge. You put him on the other side of Hunter Renfrow and the Darren Waller kid at tight end. Man, that's a lot of weapons they got. Plus, having Josh Jacobs at running back. I think they could be really scary, decently good this year, the Raiders. I think if you beat the Raiders this year, you more than earn it. It's tough division. Then I'll go for the rest. I picked Kansas City to win it by a hair. And the only reason I picked Kansas City to win it by a hair is because I think the defense will be better for Kansas City this year. I don't think Mahomes is going to have 38, 35 games, 42, 38 games this year. But I'm really splitting hairs here because I think San Diego is primed to make an excellent run. You and I both love the Herbert kid at San Diego at quarterback. Their defense is loaded with Bosa, James, and Mack. They got 3 outstanding targets in Keenan Allen, Eckler, and Mike Williams at the wideouts for Herbert. It was just it's hard for me to see a team not get there and then make them the division winner in the toughest division in football. If they were in any other division, I probably would say San Diego. It's just they're in a monster division this year. So if everybody stays healthy, nobody's sweeping that division in interconference. There's no way.
No, that division's so tough. Look, I have a hard time not going with Kansas City myself, and like we talked about, second-year quarterbacks, I bet guys are going to get a better look on him. He's going to have to make a lot more adjustments this year. They're still going to be great. He's going to be great, but year 3, then look out for them.
Yeah.
The Rams are going to be great.
Yeah.
I really think between the Rams and Kansas City, and we're saying that, and how San Francisco always seems to sneak up out of nowhere. But I'm going to go with Kansas City too, because we've got a baseball connection with Mr. Mahomes' father. So, there we go. And Kansas City used to be the Dallas Texans.
Yes, they did.
So
and
there's
for the late great Lenny Dawson actually won him an AFL championship as a Dallas Texan on their hamstring. So yes. Yeah, I think that I do want to say one thing though about Kansas City. That was a horrific loss for them last year in the AFC Championship game at home. To be up 18 points at home, don't get the field goal there at the end of the half there where you could have gone up by 3 TDs. You lose the game in overtime. That's got to be a hell of a hangover to have that happen in your own backyard. It'd be one thing if it happened at Cincinnati. You can maybe live with that a little bit, but you gotta really respond. Now, I will say this about Andy Reid: he's lost a lot of NFC Championship games in his lifetime, so he does know how to kind of come back and get his team back into it again. But man, I think this will be I think Andy Reid will really earn his keep this year if he can get those guys back to the championship game, because that's hard to do. And they've been there, what, 3 out of the last 4 years already? So it's not like, sooner or later the bubble busts. It doesn't last forever unless you're New England. It just doesn't.
I got Kansas City just a tick over the Rams, as I think that second-year quarterback situation is going to be a little different.
He's so good. He's so good. God, he's so good. Let's go to the AFC East. And for there, I picked 4. I think there's no question. I think the Jets may be the second worst team in football. They're awful. They have nothing really to rally themselves around. Maybe Zach Wilson could be a player for them, but he's hurt. They lost their starting offensive tackle in training camp, that they just drafted. He's out. So I have the Jets mired in a 3-14 kind of season, something of that nature. They do get lucky because I don't think the division's that tough, but I'm not sold on them at all. I have the Dolphins with Tua. I think they're going to be third in that division, as he is the enigma, but he's got some heckified weapons to throw to. They put everything around place for Tua to succeed. Getting Tyreek Hill, and Jalen Waddle on the other side. The problem is, though, Tyreek Hill is a deep ball guy, and that's Tua's weakness. He can't throw the deep ball. So, he's kind of like Philadelphia to me. Jalen Hurts, they put a lot of people on there. Those guys have to really step up for them to me to be in that upper echelon, and I'm not sure that either one of them can do it. I do have the Pats number 2. I do like Mac Jones. They just have no game breakers. If you look at New England's team, you fear nobody on that team. And it's just mind-boggling to me that I guess they were that ordinary when Brady was there too, because Brady just kind of fixed all the warts that they had around, on that team. But
don't worry, the Belichick system will handle everything. That's all the Belichick system. We'll be fine.
What I do have in the AFC East, though, is the Bills. I think the Bills will have home field advantage. I think they're the best team. I think they're the best team in football right now.
Did you say the Kens? The Kens or the Bills? You said the Bills. Okay, I got you. I agree.
I think Josh Allen's the second best quarterback in the National Football League, but only by a hair. I think he has really elevated his game last year. Let's just go back and remember that game against Kansas City at Arrowhead last year. He drove them down the field in 78 yards in 15 seconds? They should have won the game last year. So I think that's huge for a young team to kind of get that experience on the road. You get that hard loss that motivates you during the off season. Does anybody want to go to Orchard Park in January to play them an AFC championship game? No. I really think that this is the Bills' year this year, so that's who I had in the AFC East.
Well, I'm with you there. I doubt many people aren't with you there on that.
Yeah, I went on a big limb there, right?
Yeah. No, but that's
Billy, what do you think of the Dolphins?
They could win it all. They could win it all.
What do you think of the Dolphins?
I have yet to see what I want to see in Tua to believe in him yet. And they're trying real hard to prove they were right making that pick.
Yes, they are. Force feed. Yes, there is.
And I think there's a different way to go about it. I'm building my team with my lines. I'm building my offense and defensive line. Excellent. And then trying to figure out the almighty quarterback. Excellent. A very mediocre running back can look like an all-star if he's got the best NFL line in the NFL. Yep. So that's where I start because it's going to take a while to get there. And when you got lines like that, that's when quarterbacks want to come play for your team. And so,
And guess what? They will always go down as the team that passed up on Mr. Herbert to take Tua. Oh, yes. But let's go here to the AFC North, which I do think that the reigning AFC champs, the Bengals, speaking of a young quarterback, Joe Burrow, he did nothing to embarrass himself at all last year. He really doesn't have any weaknesses in his game. And the one weakness that they had last year was, remember, their offensive line. We talked about it repeatedly about all the sacks and hits we were taking. Man, they upgraded their offensive line this offseason in a big way. 4 new bodies came in. You give the guy, half second longer to throw, what are the numbers going to be then, especially when you got, Mr. Jamar Chase and those guys out there at the wideout position. I expect big things for them. As a matter of fact, I can't remember, but I'll get to that later. But I just think that, with Joe Mixon is a very good running back for them. You worry about the Super Bowl hangover. It seems like if you lose the Super Bowl, you kind of take a step back the next year. It's harder to get back there. Maybe you're not surprising people anymore. We all kind of said the Bengals will be the Bengals, and the next thing you know, they're playing the Rams in the Super Bowl. But yes, I got the Ravens second. I'm still not a huge fan of Lamar Jackson at all. I know they traded Marquise Brown, his best wide receiver in the offseason, which I'm not sure why you would take weapons away from him, because I say he's a limited passer. I'm not going to say he's a horrible passer. He's just limited in the passing game. Yes, he's a phenomenal athlete. Don't get me wrong. I understand that part of it. And yes, I understand he's one of the better quarterbacks in the league. But in the playoffs, you got to pass the ball. You got to make throws in the playoffs to win big playoff games. Think about Aaron Rodgers last year when he lost to 49ers. He couldn't make any plays in the air, and that's one of the best passers ever, played the game. So I'm not a huge guy on him. I think the Steelers are kind of an enigma. Their defense is going to be really good. You got Hayward and you got, TJ Watt. Obviously, the quarterback position is way up in the air, and whenever you start Mitch Trubisky, you're behind the 8 ball. But I think that they're going to try to give the Kenny Pickett kid a few games to kind of watch and see how the NFL game goes before they thrust them in there. But I don't think that they're going to be as awful as a lot of people thought. I think that a lot of people were saying they were a 7-win team. I could conceivably see this team winning 8 or 9 games this year due to their schedule. So, and if you ask, I'm a Steeler fan. If you would have asked me this time, after Ben retired last year, I thought it would have been a 4 or 5 win kind of season, just because hard to replace a Hall of Famer. But I'm slightly encouraged. Maybe I've got the black and gold blinders on a little bit. But anytime you have a good defense that keeps you in games, and that's all you want in the National Football League. The Browns, they're a complete mess. I don't know what you can do with the Browns, that we've already kind of crapped on them enough already all year, but they're just awful. And you think about it, they've got Chubb and Hunt and Amari Cooper over there. They've got some weapons there. And defensively, Myles Garrett and those guys, they've got some tools over there to be a good football team. Their management sucks, period.
Yep. They just continue to make bad decisions. And I'm with you all the way on the Bengals too. I'm thinking about this. Burrow's even going to be another year removed from that ACL injury, and he did okay last year. So that one to me is a no-brainer. Obviously, people got to stay healthy, but that's theirs to win.
Yeah, he's a load. If you're talking about some young quarterbacks in between, if you consider Mahomes still young, Mahomes, Allen, Herbert, and Burrow, man, that's some pretty good stuff right there. That's some pretty good stuff. You're going to win some championships among those 4. It's coming. There's no question. I'll go to the AFC South right now. And the AFC South was really kind of I think is a ho-hum division. I've got the Texans. They are the worst team in football. They have absolutely nothing on that roster to rally around. I mean, the quarterback, Davis Mills, I tried to read a little of him in the offseason. I heard some people say some positive things about him, but their offensive line's in shambles. Their defensive line's in shambles. They have no weapons at the wide receiver running back position. I feel sorry for the guy. I hope he makes it through all 17. I hope he doesn't have to live in an ice bucket his bye week. But it's just I just don't see any future there right now. I've got the Jaguars at 3. I know Trevor Lawrence had a kind of a disappointing rookie year last year. I would say maybe underwhelmed a little bit for all the hype. But you have to remember he lost Christian McCaffrey last year. At the beginning of the year. He also had that freaking Urban Myth as his head coach for 9-10 games of last year and all of that crap that he brought. So I'm willing to give Doug Peterson a shot here to try to get him turned around and maybe put him in some better situations, that he can succeed in. I got the Titans at number 2. They got the best running back in football in Derrick Henry. They traded A.J. Brown, their best wide receiver, to Philadelphia, which I didn't understand because, it's all about Tannehill for me with that team. He's the key. If he doesn't throw to the other team, they'll win. If he does throw to the other team, they don't win. Now you took away his best target. Didn't quite understand that. Tennessee, it seems like whenever they start to succeed, they take 2 steps back. And I don't quite understand why. It's just kind of an organizational deal to me. I've got the Colts. I think the Matt Ryan, signing in the offseason, instant upgrade over Mr. Wentz, who they had last year. The defense is solid, and I still have faith in Frank Reich, the head coach. I thought he kind of got pushed out of Philadelphia a few years ago a little bit too soon after the Super Bowl win there. I thought he deserved at least another year. I think Frank Reich now know that he's got a competent quarterback right now. That Colts offense is going to be remarkably better than it was at the end of last year.
Yeah. Tennessee obviously goes to the offensive line for me. If they can give Tannehill some time.
And they do have a good offensive line. They do.
Yeah. If they give him some time, I'm going to pick Tennessee. It's close enough to me where I'll try to be contrarian with you on this one a little bit, but I mean, I've got the Colts right there with them too.
Yeah.
And, I'm a Texan. Tennessee came and helped us fight in the Alamo, so, I got to pick them
too. We'll head to the NFC on that one. We're going to start with the NFC West that we talked about a little bit earlier. I've got the Seahawks at 4. Geno Smith's your quarterback. Nothing else needs to be said. Cardinals, I got them at 3. It's a huge year for Kyler Murray and your old buddy over there, Kingsbury, in Cardinal land, I think. Rough off season, little skirmishes between Murray and the Cardinal organization, him wanting to hold out, signs a big deal in the offseason. People questioning if he's putting enough time in the playbook and film room, put that in the contract, and made it public. It's kind of strange.
Where the root of that came from? I mean,
I don't. There was no decided advantage either way to make it public. You're embarrassing the organization and you're embarrassing the player all in the same deal.
Yeah.
I didn't get it. Why do you have to tell your NFL quarterback he's got to do 20 hours of film work? Shouldn't he just know he needs to do that?
Yeah.
I don't understand. And is there going to be somebody there monitoring it on his laptop?
They're going to have to hire a tutor.
You got 19 hours and 53 minutes, Kyler. Go see 7 more minutes of film. I mean, where does it go? I don't get it, man. Then the other thing is they got a mediocre defense, and DeAndre Hopkins is still suspended. So, I mean, they lost Christian Kirk. another talking about a black cloud that seems to follow a franchise. That's just one of them. You know, it seems like the Cardinals are just the Cardinals. You know, it just always something always happens to them. I actually picked, and you're going to be surprised by this. I actually picked the Rams to be second. The reason I picked the Rams to be second in this division was because their schedule is brutal. Take a look at their schedule and take a look at those road games that they got. I know the Super Bowl champion generally gets the toughest schedule the following year. Well, guess what? They laid it on the Rams this time around. I'm a little concerned about Stafford's shoulder. I know he played some preseason, but anytime you tell me it's 70 or 80%, blah, 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 all it takes is one hit and it's not 70, 80% any longer, you know, and that does scare me. And I'm always a big believer of the Super Bowl hangover. I think you try so hard to get that first one. You put so much time and effort, it's hard to ratchet up in the offseason and try to come up with that same intensity and that same effort going through it. And I also just think that the NFC is tough. It's top heavy. You know, I think that the NFC is going to be hard to try to get through that. So kind of just took a stab in the dark there. But I have the 49ers winning that division. I really, really, really like their defense. I mean, they got Nick Bosa, they got Frank Warner. I think they got one of the best players in football in Deebo Samuel, who is there trying to re-sign him. I know they are. But the reason I picked the 49ers is this one. If Trey Lance falls on his ass, you know, the second-year quarterback, Jimmy G signing this week tilted the scales for me. If Jimmy G wouldn't have signed with the 49ers, because he's a nice safety belt, you know, safety that you can have. It's nice to have a guy that's gotten to a Super Bowl and has gotten to an NFC championship game. It's not like he's awful. He knows how to win close football games. And guess what? He almost won a close football game last year against the Rams. They only lost by 3. So, I mean, it's not like it was, you know, I said, tell people all the time. So I really think that this really covers you on the backside of things. If, you know, if the Lance kid is not very good or he's just not ready yet. So that's the reason. But I like their coach too. I mean, I'm not gonna say I really like their coach. I like Shanahan. So anyhow, that was my picks for the NFC West.
Well, I got to go with the Rams because I really think Stafford, after all the time he spent in Detroit, he's going to be so ratcheted up. I have concerns of the line, and I love the heart that San Francisco plays with, but I think there's going to end up being a quarterback controversy there, and
could be,
and
it could.
And some teams do well with that, but I'd say most of the time it divides the team and causes a problem. So I'm going to stick with Highland Park's finest, Matthew Stafford and the LA Rams, even though I'm pretty sure there are no Rams anywhere in the Los Angeles facility.
Let's go to our favorite here, the NFC East over here. I've got the Giants as the third worst team in football. I look at the Giants. I mean, I know that the new head coach, that ball is the Buffalo offensive coordinator, but he's going to look at what he had to work with last year and what he has to work with this year. It's going to go, man, 3/4 of this playbook is not going to work. So, I mean, Daniel Jones stinks. Barkley, I mean, he hasn't stayed healthy. I mean, he stays in the tub. The first round there, Thibodeau got hurt in preseason. He's supposed to maybe only miss 1 or 2 games. I just don't see anything for the Giants. I just think that the Giants are just going to be another one of those teams that win 4 or 5 games like it always is and draft in the top 5. And it's brutal. Commanders. I got them third by just 1 game. I think they'll win 1 more game than the Giants this year. So that's the reason. That's another team that, I mean, Carson Wentz is going to go there. How many quarterbacks of the Washington team, or whatever you want to call them, has gone through in the last 15, 20 years? It's unreal how many different quarterbacks they keep running out. And only one that was halfway decent probably was Kirk Cousins. And what did they do? Let him go. So I mean, it's just with Danny Snyder, it's horrible. Hey, Danny Snyder's horrible. I mean, he is awful. The Eagles, I got second. The reason I have the Eagles second is that I hate their quarterback. I hate, it's a running quarterback. He tries to make passes, and it's just, you can't win consistently enough in the National Football League that way. You just can't, even with all the weapons he's got. I mean, he's got A.J. Brown now. He's got the, oh gosh, what was his name? Devontae Smith, from Alabama, I think was an excellent player. Their defense is really good. I think they have put all the weapons around them, but if you can't pass, you can't pass. And I've got the Dallas Cowboys winning that. I mean, obviously, they took a big hit retiring Smith, going down in training camp this time last week. It's going to be out until, December or so. But they do have one thing that nobody else in this division has. They have a game breaker at defense and Micah Parsons, and they've got a ball hawk in the back end and Treville Diggs. I think that will help. I think that maybe even in the first time in a long time, maybe the defense carries the offense for a while for once in Dallas. I mean, we haven't been able to say that in a long time.
No, I'm with you. A lot of people are predicting, the Eagles, and I don't love Hurts either. Is it true? Does Jalen Hurts have a brother named Richard? Anyways, I think the Cowboys need to throw the ball to CeeDee Lamb more. I think we're going to see him getting a lot more touches this year. And like you said, I think their defense is even maybe a little underrated, and it's going to be a fun year in Dallas.
I don't compare him to Lawrence Taylor, but Michael Parsons is the kind of guy that you have to game plan on every play. He's not LT, by any stretch, but I mean, he's that type of motor that he has where, if he lines up on the inside, you've got to take care of him. He lines up on the outside, if he drops back. So I think that's a difference maker that makes everybody else on that defense much better too, because of, a lot of potential this way. Let's go to the NFC North. I think this is probably pretty easy. I've got the Lions 4. Excuse me, not the Lions, Bears. I got the Bears last. Excuse me. I'm not a believer in Justin Fields either. Now, I will say this: Justin Fields probably needs, some more time. It's probably an unfair criticism of him just yet. Because shaky O-line, rookie quarterback, that's doomed for failure. So, it's just, I shouldn't be as rough as I am, but I think David Montgomery, the running back for them, is pretty good target. He's a real good running back if he can stay healthy, but I heard he may be hurt. They're worried about his health already. That's never good as a running back to be hurt in the beginning of the year because they generally don't get better as the year goes on. I've got the Lions number 3. I think Gerard Goff is going to bounce back a little bit. We kind of forget that he was in the Super Bowl just 3-4 years ago. We kind of forget that he was. He's not a bad quarterback, and I think the Lions are starting to put some pieces around him also. I know maybe this is my Hard Knocks, watching them, and you kind of get infatuated with the team of Hard Knocks for that year. But I do like Dan Campbell. I think he's an intense guy. I think he's a no-nonsense guy that seems like people want to play hard for him. I've got the Vikings number 2. Kevin O'Connell replaces Mike Zimmer there. Mike Zimmer was there for 11, 12 years, something of that nature, as the head coach there for the Vikings. Kirk Cousins, he's an above average quarterback. He's not going to just, will this team to a Super Bowl, but if you put some nice pieces around him, he's going to be a pretty good regular season quarterback. It always comes down to the postseason. It seems like that's where he has his hiccups. But I do love the Justin Jefferson kid, wide receiver for them. He is outstanding. I do have the Packers winning that division, obviously, even with them taking the hit from Davante Adams. I guess as long as you roll out Aaron Rodgers in the regular season, you're going to have great success, especially if he plays all 17 games. This is one of those picks that I think it was more by default because the division's not very good. I don't expect the Packers to have that home field advantage or play like they did last year because you can't be a better team losing the best wide receiver in football. It just can't be.
Nope. And that's why I'm picking the Vikings. I'm going with Cousins,
All right.
going with the Purple People Eaters. I used to stand on the sidelines with my father at Vikings games as a kid, and
Metropolitan.
even though I so want a Cowboys,
Packers.
yes, because I want to see that what's said in the press, how that whole thing transpires. Come on, you know that's going to get interesting. Somebody's going to screw up and say something, and I don't know. It's still. I wish I knew the backstory to those two guys and where everything went wrong, because I have a feeling we're going to really dislike one of them if we ever found out the truth.
Yeah. You mean the urban myth is going to get a little larger? Yeah. Let's go to the NFC South. I think this was probably pretty easy too. I have the Falcons for starting Marcus Mariota as your quarterback. Period. You're not going to win. The Panthers, I do have 3. Panthers are kind of tricky to me because I think Baker Mayfield kind of plays with a chip on his shoulder this year. We all discredit him for so long. He gets a landing spot. Plus, he gets Christian McCaffrey. At least right now he does. Anyway, just 2 years ago, that was the best guy in football. So, I mean, anytime you get a guy like that in the backfield, it's going to make you better. And then he gets to throw to DJ Moore. So, I think that, it's a big year for Matt Rule, obviously, the head coach out there. I think it's kind of one of those that he's heralded, but it hasn't really matriculated to the football field and wins and losses just yet. So I think he's got to really take a big step up here. And getting a motivated, average quarterback is not too bad. That flashes some potential from time to time, So I got the Saints number 2. And I really wanted to move the Saints up even a little bit higher. I think they're really, really good. I like their roster. It's just that I'm not a fan of crab legs, Jameis Winston. I'm just not a fan of him. He forces the ball way too much. I mean, he's almost the polar opposite of what Drew Brees was, He tries to fit everything into tight windows sometimes where he should just throw the ball out of bounds or run or whatever maybe. His decision-making scares me. But that Saints team has got a really, really, really good roster. And they get Michael Thomas back, Alvin Kamara. I mean, I think got a shot at maybe a rookie of the year, and Chris Olive, the wide receiver that came from Ohio State last year. I really like him a lot. I just don't like who lines up under the center. I just don't.
No, and at the end of the game, at the end of the day, what's the most important position on the field? I'm with you because you can sum this thing up in 2 words: Tampa Beatty. Tampa Beatty. Yes. That's who's going to win. Yeah. He was part of the Belichick system, and Tampa Bay. Yeah.
That's the only reason I'm picking Tampa Bay is because of who lines up under their center. Because they've taken some hits on the offensive line. They got 3 of their offensive linemen that are out, and that was a very good offensive line. They got an All-Pro at center that's going to be out for at least 2 more months. They don't have Gronkowski coming back this year. They do get Chris Goodwin to come back with Mike Evans, but the only reason I'm picking Tampa Bay is because the GOAT. I mean, it's the only reason. I don't have to justify it either. It resonates. So yes, that's what I got.
He's got a few fingers left that need a ring, and then he'll be done, right?
Yeah, exactly. All right. In my AFC Championship game, I have at Orchard Park. I have a rematch of last year's playoff, Kansas City at Buffalo, and this time I have the Bills winning it. So I have the Bills going to the Super Bowl, and in my NFC Championship game, I have a rematch. I think the Packers are going to make it back out to what is San Francisco's field again? Ah, gosh, I forgot the name of it. But yes, I have them playing out at San Francisco like they did just 2 years ago. And I think the same thing's going to happen to them again. I think the 49ers are going to put a knot on their head. So that will put the Bills and the 49ers in the Super Bowl. And we will have a new first team to ever win a Super Bowl, and that will be your Buffalo Bills, as Josh Allen will hoist the MVP trophy over his head in February. That's who I have winning the Super Bowl this year.
Well, all right. I'm going to go with a goat and a goat to be, because it's going to be Mahomes and Brady going at it again.
I like that.
And Grasshopper's going to snatch the pebble from the old master's hand.
So you have the Bills and the Chiefs. You have the Bills and the Kansas City and Bucks, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Kansas City and the Bucks winning.
No, I want Kansas City's going to win this one.
So Andy Reid will hoist the trophy this year. Then, all righty, Kansas City Super Bowl champs, and I got the Bills as the champs. So we have a big game then. So whoever wins that AFC Championship game, if it's Bills and Chiefs, we say they're going to win it all. So the Super Bowl is actually 2 weeks before the Super Bowl this year, right?
Right. And if the Cowboys end up in it, we're both going to be cheering for them anyway, so it won't matter, right?
Well, Billy, man, that sure is great to sit here and get to talk a little football with you. I'm so excited. We got